Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Erin Daly, and on behalf of Everbridge, I'm excited to present this Expert Insights webinar, Extreme Weather and Extreme Losses, How Organizations Can Mitigate High-Impact Weather. In this webinar, our presenters will review extreme weather in the United States, how current business practices increase vulnerability to disaster, and how to mitigate losses from extreme weather. After the session, we will have a 15-minute Q&A session with our speakers. And now, I would like to introduce you to our speakers. Michael Smith, Senior Vice President and Chief Innovation Executive, leads advanced research in severe weather detection for AccuWeather Enterprise Solutions. Known as America's tornado expert, Mike is one of America's leading authorities in the field of extreme weather and its effects on society and business. He has received 19 patents in the fields of weather science, emergency management, and search and rescue. A board-certified consulting meteorologist and a fellow of the American Meteorological Society, Mike received the AMS Award for Outstanding Contribution to the Advance of Applied Meteorology and twice their Award for Outstanding Service to Meteorology by a corporation. After Michael's presentation, we'll be hearing from Claudia Dent, Vice President of Product Management at Everbridge. Claudia brings many years of experience in the technology industry, including executive positions in product management, marketing, business development, and general management in companies ranging from startup to large global enterprises. We're excited and honored to have both of our speakers with us today. And now, I'd like to turn it over to our presenter, Mike Smith. Mr. Smith, you may begin.
States, when you adjust for inflation, struck New England in 1938. And we know California has had hurricanes in the past. That's unequivocal. It's in the weather records. And if it's happened in the past, given enough time, it will occur in the future. And when an eventual hurricane strikes California, given the population today, it is going to be a disaster of unprecedented proportions. But it's not just Mother Nature. Because of changes in business processes, extreme weather now causes extreme business losses. Go back just 40 years ago. The fact is that windows opened in most office buildings. You typed on manual typewriters, and you made copies with carbon paper. This is what the switchboard looked like in my dad's office. You had a lady connecting calls rather than a computer. No electricity needed. You may remember that the telephone network in those days worked on dry cell batteries. So if you lost commercial power, you still had telephones. None of that is the case today. We work in offices with sealed windows. We work from electrical powered workstations at our desk, and we can't even make copies or type without electricity. So if a storm or other natural event moves in and takes out the electricity, the losses pile up very, very quickly. Now we know that many businesses don't have adequate plans for extreme weather. In Hurricane Sandy, a very well-known national company, everyone attending today would know the name of this company, had a $73 million fully preventable loss because they failed to move mobile assets out of the path of the storm. It's been reported extensively in the media that New Jersey Transit had a loss in excess of $100 million because they did not realize that their rail yard 6 feet above sea level was going to be flooded of their passenger cars. And it's not just the effects directly on business. It's the effect on society as a whole. Even counting all of the jobs that were created by the rebuilding, the Joplin tornado still caused a net loss of 4,000 jobs in that community. For a number of reasons, it makes a great deal of sense to have an extreme weather risk mitigation program in your company. And there are 4 elements to it. The plan itself, how you communicate the threat when one presents itself, How do you shelter people and protect your assets? And then how do you go about recovering if the worst happens? Now, to use a couple of examples from just recently, Hurricane Sandy knocked out power for as long as 3 weeks in some places. There was also the derecho of March 29th of last year that went from Chicago to Washington, D.C., and also knocked out power for 3 weeks. Parts of the heavily urbanized District of Columbia were without 911 for a week, and they were without power for 10 days. That's hard to believe. A heavily urbanized part of our nation's capital metropolitan area was without power for 10 days. How do you handle something like that? Well, for example, there are a number of simple solutions. A satellite phone. These days they cost an outdoor antenna and 3 extra batteries that you keep charged. So even if your telephone system is knocked out, you can still coordinate. Now you want to make sure you have a minimum, so you have a telephone number. There is a little bit of a trick to making a call with a satellite phone, so you'll want to do it occasionally and keep in practice. And you'll want to program the 7 or 10-digit emergency numbers for police, fire, medical, etc., because it takes less switching when 911 is not you, and that's a more computer. You have the regular 7 or 10-digit numbers programmed into your satellite phone, so if 911 service is knocked out, you can still access essential services. You may recall in Hurricane Sandy there were long lines for more than 2 weeks to be able to get fuel. How will you refuel your generators? Well, one example is to write a premium contract with a distant provider. If you're along the coast in a hurricane, 100 miles inland and is licensed to do business in your state. Outside of the hurricane region, at least 100 miles away, right, with guaranteed delivery with a regional or national company. But if you can keep your generators filled, you can continue to work. You can continue to be productive even when your competitors and those around you are not able to work as a result of a prolonged power failure. Weather risk mitigation program in the central United States should certainly include tornado shelters. How long does it take to shelter your people? How long does it take to do an orderly equipment shutdown? How is the sheltering decision announced? How are non-safety weather decisions announced? Meaning, if a blizzard is coming in or 6 inches of snow, how do you get the word out to your employees? And then who, not a committee, who makes the decision that you're going to shut down and send people to shelter? If there's a convene a committee. All of these things need to be considered in a business weather risk mitigation plan. Since the economic downturn of 2007, we have had a record number of Americans living in mobile homes. We now have the ability to give people 10, 15, 20 minutes warning for a tornado. Given that mobile homes are not safe in high winds or a tornado, please to use the building as a shelter on a 24/7 basis. Now, if you wish to extend that low-cost benefit to your employees, you'll want to make sure you have the building checked by an architect or building engineers as to what part of your building are safest. You'll want to purchase some minimal supplies, a box of disposable diapers, some bottled water, etc., and you'll want to mark the location of your shelter. And you'll find that your employees are extremely grateful to get that benefit so they have some place to go in an extreme storm. And It has the added benefit that if the worst happens and your business is struck, you have employees there on site to help you begin the recovery. We're getting past the period in the United States where people want to carry around 2-inch binders with should have your business plan on their smartphone. We at AccuWeather have a new product called SkyGuard Mobile that will allow you to put your plan into the tornado warning for you. The tornado procedure, lightning warning procedures will pop up. So it's all there exactly when needed to the people who need to see it. One other best practice, actively when extreme weather presents itself. Ford Motor Company and the United Auto Workers put out this joint pamphlet for all employees every spring, warning procedures and why they're working with AccuWeather Enterprise Solutions to provide storm warnings for that specific location. There is a separate pamphlet that goes out to supervisors every spring so that everyone is well informed about emergency procedures. This sounds counterintuitive and will probably be the most controversial thing I will mention. To watch every television station, NOAA weather radio, and a half dozen or so sources. Scientific research indicates you make better decisions with fewer sources. Now, my 40 years of experience doing this indicates that's true, but I admit that I'm just one person. Academic research by Dr. Catherine Smith, who is of no relation to me, every single school district in North and South Carolina for 2 years to see how they made decisions whether to call off school for winter storms. And her research indicated that the school districts that used one than the ones that use 6 or more sources of information. So less is actually more in this case. You want to use one, not a myriad of sources, because all that does is lead to confusion. Now, why do we think AccuWeather is the best choice for this type of service for businesses? Well, we tailor the warning to your unique business criteria. We issue warnings specifically for your location, not for counties like the government does, but specific locations. Arrives, and we cut down on the expensive and unnecessary false alarms. To use one example from 2008, we issued a tornado warning for the Caterpillar plant in Oxford, Mississippi at 5:37 p.m. We told them a tornado would arrive between 5:50 and 6:15. Now that period from 5:37 to 5:50, that 13-minute interval, tells and get their people into shelter before the storm arrives. The storm did arrive on schedule. It was an F3 intensity tornado. There were 88 people on the second shift. It was destroyed by the storm. None of those storm hit never would have been able to occur if their people had been injured or killed. And the Wall Street Journal wrote up this case as a textbook example of how businesses should handle disasters. Oh, and came out 4 minutes after the plant was hit. Think back to Hurricane Sandy. It was the first hurricane of the year for the New York and Philadelphia offices of the National Weather Service. But we had already worked Hurricane Isaac in Louisiana. Because of a number of communication breakdowns, the National Weather Service never issued hurricane warnings for the coastal areas of New York, New Jersey, and surrounding regions, and that has engendered a great deal of criticism for the National Weather Service. We, of course, did issue hurricane warnings for our clients. One of the reasons that we bring storm actually occurs, it's many fewer false alarms, and it's our seamless solution to handle all of your extreme weather warning needs. We tailor the messaging to your unique requirements, and again, the warnings are tailored to your unique requirements. For example, the BNSF Railway needs flash flood warnings because track can get water drop results. Whereas Spirit Aerosystems, which makes the fuselages of 737s that you see here at the bottom, they're on high ground. They don't care about flash flooding. But Spirit cares intensely about hail. If one of those fuselages is caught outdoors and gets hailed on, it can be a loss of $10 to $20 million. Now, the BNSF Railway serves Spirit Aerosystems. You can see their track indicated by the arrows. You have two of our clients in the same physical location, but they have different weather needs. Spirit gets hail warnings, BNSF does not. BNSF gets flash flood warnings, but Spirit does not. Different business requirements, different storm warnings. One of the things we've also received a lot of praise for is our advance warning of Hurricane Sandy that allows our retail clients like Lowe's to match inventory to weather-related demand. In Sandy forecasts in the trade press that allowed them to be the only national chain that did not run out of, that you can drive customers into your store to get last-minute supplies before a storm occurs, and to make sure. And while I've spent a lot of time talking about hurricanes and tornadoes, we continue to be the leader in winter storm forecasting. In fact, we just put out a special notice to a number of our clients in the central United States. We call them storm potential notices because as much as 9 inches of snow is developing in the central United States. We also monitor not just your location, but your supply chain. We want to make sure that the parts you need get to your location on time, so we monitor highways, railways, and other elements of your supply chain to make sure you do not have an unexpected weather-related disruption in your part supply. Earlier I mentioned SkyGuard Mobile. It's our newest product. And what it does is it keeps your business location and your personal location on your phone. As you travel, the GPS in your iPhone updates your location. You're at your kid's softball game, you get warnings of lightning, high winds, and you also get them for your facility. That way you know that your business is threatened, or you know that your kid's softball game is threatened. This is very high praise from its beta users, and we're about to roll it out on a general basis. This is the state-of-the-art in business storm warnings and business storm planning, and we're very excited that this product is coming out in the next couple of months. So that is my presentation today, and I know we'll get on to our next presenter, and I look forward to answering any questions that you might have.
All right, so thanks a lot, Michael. I really, really appreciate the overview of AccuWeather. And one of the presentation was the importance of communication in regards to weather incidents. So just spend a little bit of time talking about the Everbridge mass communication platform and how that can enable you to, quote unquote, weather storms more effectively. So let's just take 2012, and during the course of that event, our many notifications. And it's important to note that those notifications weren't all sent during the storm itself. Only 23% of those were sent during the storm, because the remainder were sent in preparation of the storm, and just as Irene, which was also another significant event. These notifications were at 100 citizens that actually opted in to proactively receive notifications. So Everbridge, we're working very closely with our state and local corporations to ensure that during these kinds of events, they have the right messaging strategy and communication strategy in place to really ensure that everyone is notified and protected as much as possible. So let's take a step back and talk about what are the key elements of a communications platform. Couple of things. First of all, if you're going to be communicating about severe weather events, and these events are changing and difficult to predict, etc., you may have a certain set of delivery challenge experienced. The first set of these kinds of challenges is also send an erroneous message under duress if you really haven't planned appropriately. You may not have the right contact lists available to the people that you need to notify. You may be trying to pull together too many systems. Or we've worked with customers that have actually used spreadsheets, Post-it notes, all kinds of systems that are obviously not reliable in terms of having the right contacts. And literally no having limited access, half of the equation. The second half of the challenges is all around, really ensuring that responders have received the messages that you intend them to receive. Can you really prove that the people that need to know about a particular weather event have been notified? Do you really have the ability to reach everyone? If you were to be audited, if this were a compliance and audit situation, could you really prove it? And have they received not only the message, but the right message? So here at Everbridge, we really combine both speed and intelligence to bring you smart delivery, ensuring that as much of the delivery is as automated as possible, and we leverage many different technologies to bring you the most intelligence possible during a particular situation. And we'll step through that and talk about that. Enabling you to ensure that you're connecting and confirming with all of your respondents. And we do that by ensuring that an SMS message et cetera, but really targeting a person. And the other really line from your constituents or respondents. Michael Touchy, like Hurricane Sandy, determined message templates and contact lists already to go. With you being assured that you've done everything is constructed clearly and properly so that there's no errors. All automated with, speed. But speed is only one piece of it. It's also really key to understand and have as much intelligence about a situation as possible. So the Everbridge solution provides a key capability called interactive visibility, which drives a lot of visual intelligence right to your very fingertips. So this enables you to actually do map-based contact targeting, whether you're leveraging zip codes, street addresses, a certain shape, a radius from a particular point, so that you can really hone in on the contacts and the specific people who need to be notified. One of the key elements of our visual intelligence is the whole weather aspect. You can see from this map that right at your fingertips, you can see the high wind warning. That's, of course, coming from AccuWeather. It's all powered from AccuWeather. And you see the shapes where that high wind warning is going to impact. So you can easily and automatically send messages to those constituents who are going to be impacted by that high wind warning. And we call this delivery of weather information smart delivery and weather alerting. And it's key because we leverage AccuWeather's meteorological resources to drive over 100 different kinds of weather warnings. And that includes things like severe thunderstorms, lightning and hail, tornadoes and flash floods, snow warnings, which we're getting a little too much of here in New England lately, extreme temperatures, etc. One of the key elements right from interactive visibility, you can actually understand very precisely AccuWeather's meteorologist-drawn polygons. So you can use those polygons to select contacts in those affected areas really, really quickly. You can also automate that process so those contacts would automatically get an alert in a particular event. So there's not only the precision here, but there's also a high degree of automation that you control based on the kind of weather event it is and the urgency that you feel that weather event needs attention. In addition to that, during or after, social intelligence is also another key way in which you can really understand what's happening on the ground, so to speak. And what interactive visibility also provides is a way to intelligently look at social media. So we provide intelligent filters so that you're only looking at Twitter feeds for like 40, over 40 million, something like that. You don't really care about those. You only care about the ones that may be impacting a certain geography with a certain subject. In the event of Hurricane Sandy, as the recovery started, people started, trying to return to work, etc. But it turned out that because of the hurricane, there was huge impact to gas lines, etc. So being able to understand, where you could get gas, being able to communicate that back to your employees who needed maybe to get to a hospital or, other emergency services, having this information coming right from the ground was really critical. Likewise, being able to look at just different recovery information from citizens on the ground who are just tweeting and providing pictures. All of these pictures are geotagged, so you can see, wow, this is a dangerous situation, in terms of the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. And the filtering that's done here is all, automatic and map-driven, so you can, easily see where this event, is occurring, where is this down wire, and prevent as much as possible, avoid these dangerous areas, etc., speed the recovery, all of those benefits. The other piece of social intelligence is not only getting some social intelligence from social media and citizens, but also your own staff and employees. We have a mobile to send information back to you in your command center. And again, this mobile application that's downloaded like any other iPhone, Android application, etc. And your employees can send you pictures. You get a much richer understanding of specifically what's happening. For example, if there's a fire in a building, etc. One of the key challenges during an event like Hurricane Sandy is you may not have access to a computer. You may be remote. So all the capabilities that you typically depend on, out, etc. That's why we have delivered a mobile manager solution that enables you to deliver any kind of a notification on the fly based on, again, predefined templates, the same templates that are available in our main portal, and not only from a template perspective, but also from a map perspective as well. So you can notify, run attacks on maps, etc., and manage all of your notifications right from your mobile device, which is really critical in the event of some kind of a unpredictable situation where power is out, etc. So the second and key element of the communication solution is making sure that you're really targeting the individual. The first half is all about intelligent and smart delivery. The second half now is, okay, do you really target the individual with the right message, and can you really be assured that they received it? Well, because we look at people as not just devices, we actually target contacts using their personal preference information, and we always recommend that you use multiple paths to try and target constituents. Again, during a large weather emergency like Hurricane Sandy, if the power is out, landlines aren't really too valuable. So you want to reach out to people with as many delivery modes as possible, until you can actually, ensure that they've confirmed. And that's what our system does. It keeps reaching out to constituents, employees, citizens, until we know that they've actually confirmed. And then at some point in time, we can take the ones that haven't confirmed and continue to resend the message until we, actually get a hold of them. So this is the whole notion of requiring confirmation and truly targeting the individual. We talked about mobile communications before, and not only is it important to be able to manage a notification, but we take it a step further and provide this mobile member capability, so you have really rich two-way mobile communications between you and your constituents. So in this example here, you can send out a push notification, and when your member actually responds, and in this example it's a fire, there's a fire in a building, you can actually provide a polling response. Either they're safe and outside of the area or they're not safe, etc. But in addition to just getting a one number response or a yes or no confirmation, you can actually get pictures back, and you can get rich text, so you can really get a much better feeling of what's happening on the ground. I'm outside of the area, I can help, and oh, by the way, here's the picture of the building that I see, from where I stand. And this, again, is also geocoded. So if someone, let's say they were trapped, you would have their geotag, and you'd be able to ensure, that you would be able to leverage that location as best as possible to get them help. So those are the key elements of smart delivery and assured response that Everbridge delivers and works with customers. And all of this solution really rests on a very trusted platform. That for to ability. We also have a scalable, elastic infrastructure. So we leverage the cloud in situations like Hurricane Sandy, so we are able to scale as large events get larger, and that we need that additional capacity to send out 10 million different messages, etc. And of course, it's a very open platform, and we integrate with many other solutions. So just as a summary of the Everbridge suite and the products that I'm talking about, we've talked mostly about mass notification, the ability to send and manage notifications across geographies and enterprises. We also, in addition to that, have a product called Matrix, which provides incident management. We talked a lot this morning about interactive visibility, which enables you really to maximize your situational intelligence with things like social, media, mobile, and of course, weather, which is key to our discussion today. And that our mobile solution is a true two-way community managers and all of your members or constituents or employees. And this all sits on that trusted platform. I think it's really important to note that the proof really served. We have over 1,500, and we're happy to work with you. If you want more information on how these different verticals, leverage the Everbridge solution, and all the varieties of use cases in which Everbridge is used to in emergency situations and to protect really lives and assets. So I do want to take a moment, and I want to make sure that we have enough time now for some questions and answers. And I also want to thank all of our
Great. Thank you, Claudia and Michael.
Yes.
You can submit your questions by typing into the open text field in the questions panel on your screen and submitting to all panelists. We'll try to answer as many questions as time allows, so I know we have quite a few. So the first one comes from Michael H. How is Everbridge addressing the issue of sending mass messages to local or denial of service attacks, causing them to drop messages and keep recipients from receiving alerts?
So we work with many customers. We are able to work with them very.
Great. The second question comes from Don S. Do you monitor wildfires as a potential event? So
That's for Michael.
Michael?
Yes, the answer is yes. We have recently increased our monitoring and forecasting capability for wildfires, and it is going extremely well. We have a number of railroad clients in remote areas of the western United States where there aren't even any highways, and we're the only source they have of wildfire information. And it has really increasingly important.
Great, thank you. So the next question comes from Nancy M. So earlier in the presentation, Mr. Smith mentioned the pamphlet from Ford. What are some best practices for procuring and stating laboratory information and covering scenarios, especially in high-risk areas, might be in place?
There are two things that I really would like to emphasize, and that is do a tornado drill. I know people are moderately embarrassed, and it looks like an didn't happen. Shelters, how to shut down, what the warning tone or warning message, and will serve you well. The second thing is mark your shelters. It is a mystery to me that in much of the central United States, you have statistically double the chance of being hit by a tornado as you do of having a fire. Yet local laws and building codes require you to mark fire exits, and I certainly have no problem with that, but they do not require any kind of marking of shelters, even though it's statistically the greater of the two hazards. So I strongly, or a retailer, someplace that has lots of traffic that are not familiar with your business on a day-to-day basis, mark your shelters. So if a sudden storm develops, you know where to go and to get your people to safety.
Yeah, and those are really important points, Michael. And one thing I do want to add is from a communications perspective, along with doing like that drill, and the Everbridge platform enables you to manage your communications as part of scenarios. And it goes back to, it's not just what's happening during the event itself, but it's what is the communication that is required before the event, during the event, and after the event. And you can have these, all ready to go in templates with the messages, contacts, you progress through an event to make sure that all the communications are clear, complete, and to the right people.
Great, thank you so much. So the next question is actually asked by quite a few people. I think they're wondering, does mobile devices include BlackBerries?
The answer to that question is yes, it does provide BlackBerry.
And the answer to the SkyGuard Mobile is our first release is for iPhones. Second release, BlackBerry is on the list, and I would expect to have it by the end of the year.
Great, thank you. So the next question is actually a combination of two questions that were asked. So can you both speak to how you support people with disabilities, both from a physical security standpoint as well as a communication standpoint? So Michael, I think maybe the first part of that would be best addressed by you.
Sure. On SkyGuard Mobile, we have the system that vibrates when there's a warning, and it vibrates for an extended period of time. So if you have someone who is deaf or has poor eyesight, feeling that vibration lets you know that a storm warning has occurred. And we make it so that the vibration lasts for an extended period of time. Now this complements what you get from Everbridge. What we're doing is we're providing information directly to your security department, the highly detailed information, and then Everbridge employees. So if you have a disabled person working in the security department or who needs that more detailed information, we do provide it via the SkyGuard mobile service. With regard to sheltering people with disabilities, that's really more of an architectural or building engineer type question. But that's one of the reasons we so encourage marking your shelters. A number of companies put the Braille signal, or not signal, I'm not sure what word I'm looking for, Braille indication that this is a shelter on the very sign that says tornado shelter or high wind shelter. That's where they need to be.
Great, thank you.
And just to add to that, from an Everbridge perspective, we certainly enable state and local government agencies to, or employers to serve the needs of special needs individuals, and every methods in terms of the messaging in a variety of different ways that would serve people who are hearing impaired or sight impaired. And we also enable you to manage your contact database with a set of attributes. So for example, there may be certain people who are using medical equipment who may, well, all of that can be managed within the contact database. So you citizens or employees who may be in extra jeopardy during a certain situation.
Great. So, and a good follow-up to that is, can you talk about best practices for making sure all of your contacts are reached through the system or included in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So from a best practices perspective, there's a couple of things. First of all, from a state and local government perspective, most of our customers leverage 911 databases in addition to citizen opt-in data. And this enables you to, really get the broadest additional delivery path. And I can't emphasize the delivery path, more strongly, is that the biggest recommendation we have, whether it's a state and local government or whether it's, a corporation or a hospital trying to reach out to employees, that you want to have, more than one delivery path because of, power outages, down phone lines, et cetera, driving more delivery paths. The system itself actually reaches someone. We help you manage the confirmations, who confirmed, who didn't, how to resend that broadcast, et cetera. So there's a lot of automation in the system that helps that process.
Great. So I think we have time for just a few more questions. So this next one is a two-part. I think the first part is for Michael in terms of how far into the future can projections be made on the probability of extreme events? And then the second part is for Claudia, and what's the best for warning employees or talking to employees given how accurate things are before they've come in or really become a likelihood?
Well, the first part, we're providing, we being meteorological science, is providing probabilistic forecasts of just about every type of severe storm. Heck, you can even go to my blog, and if you scroll down several, you'll see yesterday afternoon I posted the probability up to 6 p.m. Friday in various parts of the central United States. We are now providing probabilities of tornadoes, probabilities of hail. So providing probabilistic storm warning information already.
Yeah, now the second half of that, I think, based on leveraging that information from AccuWeather, you can communicate effectively to your employees. And again, I think you want to have a predefined communication plan where before the storm event, you tell them, what may happen, and during the course of that, what you may ask them to do, and then you actually tell them what you need them to do during the event itself, and then follow on with recovery messages, etc. So that everyone really has the right expectations and is managing to, in all honesty, to the worst probabilities, right?
Great. So I think we have time for just one more question. And that is one that I think has been asked by quite a few folks. Could both of you speak to, I know we're focusing on U.S. weather events for the majority of services as well.
The answer is AccuWeather makes weather forecasts for the entire world, and we can provide storm warnings in the parts of the world for which there is data. For example, we can do storm warnings in Australia, Great Britain, France. However, if you're talking about Central Africa, no, there isn't sufficient data to provide storm warnings there. Now, you can provide forecasts, but the extremely precise warning information, it's just not possible because the data doesn't exist.
We on that for the course of this presentation. The Everbridge platform is very open, so we can integrate weather, but looking forward to social media. We talked about that, Twitter feeds, etc. So our platform is fairly open, and we're able to support a number of different environments, etc.
And is this service available in Canada? Yes, the full high-resolution warning service is available throughout North America, the United States, Canada, Mexico, and the Caribbean. And it is becoming available in other parts of the world for which there are data.
Great, thank you so much. So I'm very sorry to announce that we've run out of time for the Q&A session. So thank you, Michael and Claudia, for a great session, and to all of our attendees who were able to join us today. If you missed any part of the website, you'll also receive an email with a link to the recording in the next few days. If you haven't already,